Good evening and a warm welcome to Rtmnews. My name is Vicky Lee White and I'll be bringing you all your top stories tonight. Let's start with the South African news, and in the headlines, teen killer accused back in court, Kretcher trial expected to deal with cell phone records, pre-trial of brothers accused of killing niece starts, and 3 court clerks, 2 police officers and a cleaner arrested. In the top story, teen killer accused back in court. Siyanda Gift Ngubane was expected to appear in the Pinetown Magistrates Court today in connection with the murder of a teenager. Ngubane, 19, handed himself over to police in March after allegedly using a hammer to kill the teenager, claiming the devil made him do it. He then allegedly led officers to an unused manhole in the Embo Reserve. Last month, the case was postponed to allow him to be mentally assessed at the Fort Napier Mental Facility. District Surgeon Dr. Omar Wauda told the court Ngubane was unfit to stand trial, suicidal and possibly schizophrenic. In the next story, Kretcher trial expected to deal with cell phone records. The defense is expected to present cell phone records that they hope will disprove some of the testimony already heard in the drugs, attempted murder and kidnapping trial of Czech fugitive Radovan Kretcher and 5 others. The matter was being heard in the High Court in Johannesburg. The state has closed its case and the next step should be for the defense to present witnesses. Kretcher, Desai Lupondo, warrant officers Samuel Modise Maropeng and George Jeff Ntoroane, Jan Lefu Mofokeng and Siboniso Mia are on trial on charges of dealing in drugs, attempted murder and kidnapping. They all pleaded not guilty to the charges. Pre-trial of brothers accused of killing niece starts. The pre-trial proceedings of 2 Gugulethu brothers accused of killing their niece was expected to start in the Western Cape High Court earlier today. Their brother Christopher Godlo was given 20 years for raping Chelsea Godlo, half of it suspended, and 25 years for her murder, as part of a plea and sentencing agreement enforced by Judge President John Hlophe. Michael and Tazwell Godlo did not enter an agreement. In his plea, Christopher Godlo said he and his brothers planned to kill his sister, her child and their stepbrother because they had threatened to evict them from their father's house should he die. In the final South African story tonight, 3 court clerks, 2 police officers and a cleaner arrested. 3 Randburg court clerks, 2 police officers and a cleaner have been arrested in connection with bribery, corruption and defeating the end of justice, Johannesburg Metro Police said yesterday. I quote, JMPD officers and members of the Hawks arrested a female clerk of the court and a female cleaner last night who were trying to sell a docket for a minor crime at the McDonald's parking ground in Cresta, Chief Superintendent Wayne Minnar said. I quote, the arrest led officers to the Linden police station where 2 investigating officers were arrested at 9 o'clock yesterday. At 11, officers went to the Randburg Magistrates Court where they arrested another 2 clerks of the court, he said. The prosecutor in the case managed to escape from the court building, but his lawyer has promised to hand him over to police at 10 o'clock today. That's all the South African news that I have for you tonight. We're going to go for a quick break and I'll be back with the rest of the African stories.
The Redeemed Christian Church of God, Gauteng Province, invites you to her monthly divine encounter. The theme, Arise and Shine. Date is Friday 29th May 2015 and the time is 7 p.m. Ministering will be Pastor E.O. Daramola and other anointed men of God. The venue is at number 4 Commercial Avenue, Streetdom Park, Randburg, Johannesburg, South Africa. For more inquiries and prayer requests, please call us on +27 11 791 4141. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord risen upon you. Don't miss this special time with God. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. See you there.
Arise, arise, take your place.
Welcome back to Rtmnews. If you're just joining us, we're having a look at the African news. In the headlines, Burundi coup has failed. Mugabe off to Mali. CAR militias free over 300 enslaved children, and UN in South Sudan air dash as harvest fears mount. Starting with the top story, Burundi coup has failed. The attempt to overthrow Burundian President Pierre Nkurunziza has failed, a deputy coup leader said yesterday, a day after fierce fighting between rival army factions. I quote, "Personally, I recognize that our government has failed," General Cyril Ndayirukiye told AFP. I quote, "We were faced with an overpowering military determination to support the system in power. The admission of failure came shortly after the president announced that Nkurunziza, who was abroad when the coup was declared, had returned to his country." Mugabe off to Mali. Hours after he urged graduating police officers to step up the fight against white-collar crime, President Robert Mugabe left Zimbabwe again on yet another foreign trip, this time to Mali, the state Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation reported. Mugabe, 91, only returned from Russia on Tuesday. The longtime leader has maintained trips outside the country since mid-January at a cost estimated by the privately owned Standard newspaper on Sunday to be $50 million. Some Zimbabweans have dubbed him the visiting leader. Yesterday's trip will see Mugabe attend the signing of a peace deal between Mali's Tuareg-led rebels and the government in Bamako, ZBC said. In the next story, car militias free over 300 enslaved children. Armed groups in Central African Republic released more than 300 enslaved children yesterday as part of a United Nations brokered deal as the country turns to healing after 2 years of conflict. An estimated 6,000 to 10,000 children are thought to be working as sex slaves or menial workers such as cooks and messengers for rival militias in the historically unstable former French colony. Leaders of the armed groups signed a pact last week for their release during a peace forum in the capital Bangui. And then the final story, UN in South Sudan dash as harvest fears mount. The UN is airlifting seeds to farmers in civil war-racked South Sudan in a race against time to ensure a grain harvest this year in the worst-hit areas. The Rome-based UN Food and Agriculture Organization said yesterday it was running up to 18 flights a day from the capital Juba to parts of the country now inaccessible by truck in a bid to deliver vital supplies of seeds, fishing kits and other tools before seasonal rains make planting impossible. I quote, "For many farmers, this is the only opportunity to plant cereals this year," said Serge Tissot, the organization's representative in the world's newest country, which has been embroiled in civil war since December 2013. That's it for the African news tonight. We're going to go for a quick break and I'll be back with the Nigerian news.
The worshippers, in conjunction with instruments of praise, present Polydipsio Worship Concert, a night with the King, a night of a lifetime. Guest artists Sipokazi, James Okon, John Karomi, Shegun Alade and friends. And the time is 5 p.m. The date is Sunday 14th June 2015. The venue is at the Masters Place, number 4 Commercial Avenue, Street Park, Randburg, Johannesburg, South Africa. An unquenchable thirst for more of Him. Powered by RTM and the Redeemed Christian Church of God. The host is the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Southern Africa Region 2. See you there.
Worship His holy name. Sing.
Welcome back to RTM News. If you're just joining us, we're having a look at the Nigerian news tonight. Starting with the headlines, lead poisoning kills 28 children. Nigerian army repels Boko Haram attack on army base. And controversy trails Aregbesola's son's alleged arrest. Let's start with the top story. Lead poisoning kills 28 children. Lead poisoning has killed 28 children in central Nigeria's Niger state, the government has said in the latest incident that has claimed hundreds of lives in recent years. I quote, "As at May 12, 2015, 65 cases and 28 deaths had occurred, giving a case fatality rate of 43%, Junior Health Minister Fedelis Nkwanko told reporters in Abuja. All the 28 cases were children below the age of 5. The victims of the poisoning, suspected to be due to illegal gold mining, were found to have levels of lead in their blood which were 17 to 22 times higher than the minimum international standards. In the next story, Nigerian army repels Boko Haram attack on army base. Hundreds of Boko Haram extremists tried to attack the biggest army base in northeastern Nigeria overnight, but made fierce resistance from soldiers who fired artillery through the night. Booming cannon and whooshing rockets woke up people living around Giwa barracks in Maiduguri, the northeast's biggest city. The ground shook as people prostrated themselves for evening prayers. Hundreds fled, though some were returning home yesterday. Many villagers were killed by shells that hit the outlying village of Kayamla, where the soldiers engaged hundreds of militants, according to Muhammad Gava, a hunter who is secretary of the Self-Defense Vigilante Group of Nigeria. Many of them were killed outside the trenches while some fled back, said another civilian fighter, Ibrahim Musa. In the final Nigerian story, controversy trails Aregbesola's son's alleged arrest. Despite denial by the government of Osun State that no son of the governor of Osun State, Rauf Aregbesola, was arrested at Lagos Airport for money laundering, a source that refused to be quoted told Vanguard that the governor's son, identified as Kabiru, was actually arrested. The source said Kabiru was on his way to the United Arab Emirates with over 175 million naira. He also disclosed that Kabiru was arrested on Tuesday afternoon at the departure wing of the Maritala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, with the sum of 178 million naira in his luggage that was not declared by him. Osun State Governor Mr. Rauf Aregbesola denied the involvement of any of his children in money laundering. The clarification was made by Mr. Semiyu Okanlawon, Director, Bureau of Communication and Strategy, Office of the Governor. That's all the African news that I have for you tonight. We're going to go for a short break and I'll be back with the international stories. Welcome back to RTM News. If you're just joining us, we're having a look at the international news. In the headlines, Georgia principal fired after black people graduation remark. Chinese baby rescued after being buried alive. 5 Iranian boats fire shots in the Persian Gulf. And blues legend B.B. King dies. Starting with the top story, Georgia principal fired after black people graduation remark. A Georgia educator who was caught on camera calling out all the black people for leaving a graduation ceremony during the valedictorian speech has been fired. I quote, "In light of recent events, the board of directors of TNT Academy has moved to dismiss Nancy Gorduk as principal," says a letter obtained by CNN. Heidi Anderson, chairperson of the board of directors at TNT Academy in Stone Mountain, signed the letter before sending it to the Gwinnett County chapter of the NAACP, which had called for Gorduk's termination. Gordu came under fire after being caught on video scolding attendees of Friday's ceremony, who she said were disruptive, saying into a microphone, and I quote, "You people are being so rude to not listen to the speech. Look who's leaving, all the black people." Chinese baby rescued after being buried alive. Police rescued a baby boy buried alive in a shallow, unmarked grave on a hillside in southern China, according to the country's state media. Chinese news reports say the baby was believed to have been left alone in the wilderness for as long as 10 days, but the details remain unclear. The boy's family decided to abandon him because he was born with a cleft lip and a congenital defect, according to a Xinhua News report. In China, thousands of infants with birth defects are abandoned every year. In the next story, 5 Iranian boats fire shots at the Persian Gulf. 5 Iranian boats fired shots across the bow of a Singapore-flagged cargo vessel in the Persian Gulf yesterday in an attempt to potentially stop the ship, a U.S. official told CNN. For the first time, the incident brought another Persian Gulf nation into the recent rising maritime tensions in the region. It is not yet clear if any of the rounds hit the Alpine Eternity. There were no U.S. citizens or cargo on board. The Pentagon is still gathering information about the incident. And in the final story tonight, blues legend B.B. King dies. Riley B. King, the legendary guitarist known as B.B. King, whose velvety voice and staccato picking style brought blues from the margins to the mainstream, died last night, his daughter said. He was 89. King was admitted to a Las Vegas hospital this month after suffering from dehydration. His daughter, Patty King, said his dehydration was caused by his type 2 diabetes. That's all the news that I have for you tonight. We're going to go for a short break and I'll be back with the sports.
International Church Growth Service, Lagos and South Africa, in conjunction with Redemption Television Ministry, RTM, South Africa, presents Growth, a Healthy and Vibrant Church. Speaker, Dr. Francis Bola Akijon and Church Growth Team. Dates will be 28th to 30th May 2015 and the time 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Registration free, 100 rands. The venue is at Commercial Avenue, Streeton Park, Randburg, Johannesburg, South Africa. For further information, please call +27 11 025 4037 or email us on peacemakers.resources@yahoo.com. But grow in grace and in the knowledge of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. To him be glory both now and forever. See you there.
Miracles are your memorial.
Welcome back to RTM News. If you're just joining us, we're having a look at the sports update. In the headlines, PSL facing match-fixing allegations. In international football news, Nathan, Chelsea signed Brazilian midfielder for undisclosed fee. And in more international football news, La Liga strike called off. Barcelona can now win title. In tennis news, Andy Murray pulls out of Italian Open because of fatigue, and Serena Williams pulls out of Italian Open with elbow injury. And in cricket news, Philip Hughes Cricket Australia confirms independent review. Starting with our top African football story, RTM Sport can exclusively reveal that the PSL has been rocked by match-fixing, game manipulation allegations. According to credible sources, a PSL club has officially reported an alleged match-fixing case to the PSL, suggesting that incentives were offered to individuals in the football fraternity. The 2014-2015 league campaign came to a close last weekend, which saw AmaZulu automatically relegated to the NFD and Morocco Swallows ending in the 15th position, meaning that the Dubai Birds will be involved in the PSL promotional playoffs. There have been unconfirmed reports that Swallows have brought the alleged match-fixing case to the PSL. We will keep you updated on the story as it develops over the next few days. In international football news, Chelsea have signed Brazilian midfielder Nathan from Atletico Paranaense for an undisclosed fee. The 19-year-old will move to Stamford Bridge on July 1st after passing a medical and agreeing personal terms. Switching our attention to international football news, RTM sources understand that the Spanish football season will be allowed to finish after the week-long Spanish Football Federation suspension and players' strike ended. After Spain's High Court ruled the players' strike over a TV rights dispute was unlawful, the RFEF reversed a suspension of the end of the season. Barcelona can win La Liga on Sunday with a game to spare if they beat current champions Atletico Madrid. The Spanish Cup final will also go ahead as planned on 30th of May. Moving on to tennis news, Andy Murray has pulled out of the Italian Open in Rome, citing fatigue. The Briton was due to play David Goffin in the third round on Thursday after a run of 10 successive victories on clay. And lastly, in cricket news, Cricket Australia has confirmed it will commission an independent review into the death of batsman Philip Hughes. Test player Hughes died in November, aged 25, 2 days after being struck in the top of the neck by a delivery during a domestic match in Sydney. A Cricket Australia statement read, and I quote, "We have a responsibility and obligation to look into the events of that day." The statement added the review was not about blame, but preventing an incident of this nature happening again. That's it for the sports update tonight. Let's go to the weather. That's all the news we have for you tonight here at RTM News. From me, Vicky Lee White. I do hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you again tomorrow.